I hope you're enjoying your first course. I was responsible for it. I took the summer ale. That's one of my favorites. So I was very excited about taking the summer ale. And what I chose, I actually we had some local shrimp, and we poached in a little bit of the summer ale, Sam Adams summer ale. And I also, I put some arugula in there for a little bit of texture. And then when I think of the summer ale, it's very light. It's kind of fruity. So therefore, the citrus with the local shrimp, with the Asian pear, with a very nice, light, sweet dressing. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Grains of paradise are a very rare pepper grown on the west coast of Africa, considered an aphrodisiac. But I think if you drink enough beer, anything is an aphrodisiac personally. But this beer pairs perfectly with this first course. I'm not going to talk about. My name is Bob Cannon. I'm one of the brewers at Sam Adams. I'm not going to talk about the food and beer pairings. They did a great job here. I think you guys will all really appreciate it. But this first beer in particular, the lemon notes go along with the citrus and the shrimp. I think it's a perfect pairing. I hope you guys will agree. I'll be talking a little bit about the Irish Red in this next course that just came up. Irish Red is actually a recipe that I came up with. We brewed this for my wedding several years back. And its original name was a mother-in-law, equal parts old and bitter ale. But my mother and her mother said, no way, you can't call it that. So anyway, this was fortunate enough to make it into production, and it's something that I'm very proud of. This beer is, as I mentioned, we strive for balance. This beer is all about caramel malt. So you get a big caramel sweetness in this beer, hopefully, with some muted hop notes as well. This is on your table. Everybody should have a perfect pint glass. This is actually a pint, and you can use yours to take with you when you leave. This glass was specifically designed by Jim Cook and the makers of Rydell for our beer. It works perfect with a Boston Lager, but you can pour anything you want into it. It's designed specifically to accentuate all the flavors. There's a little nucleated site on the bottom that will release combinations through the entire beer, no matter what. Also, you hold it a little bit lower so you don't warm the beer up. A lot of times, heat transfer, if you hold the pint glass, will warm the beer up before it's ready, so your hand stands a little bit low. There's a bulb because it collects all the aromas, and then there's a little lip at the top as well that delivers the flavor further back on your tongue so you get that malt sweetness. But I was very skeptical when Jim first said it. It took him a couple of years to come up with it, but when Jim first said he was designing this glass, I didn't believe that it could really make the beer any better. But I think I was wrong, and I hope you guys will feel the same way. So, cheers.
Muscovy duck. It's served with a gastrique, a blackberry gastrique. You take blackberries, blackberry vinegar, and the blackberry wit, and you reduce it all down, add a little bit of duck candy to that, finish it off with a little bit of blackberry liqueur, and what you have with that is a nice little corn pancake to go with that, and it should be pretty tasty.
The Blackberry Vit is a new beer that we just came out with. We used varying blackberries from Oregon to make this beer, and it's very fruity. Again, I'm usually not a big fan of fruit in my beer. If I want fruit, I'll eat it, but I really like this beer. I think this was nice. Again, very crisp cereal note from the grain, from the wheat malt that's used, and these Marion berries give it a real nice fruity note. I think it goes great with the original compliments to the chef.
Classical French salad. There's fingerling potatoes, Niçoise olives, tomato, artichoke, and what I did with the black lager, I reduced it by half, added whole grain mustard, sugar, a little red wine, and tomato paste.
And began with Boston Lager. This is our flagship. This is the beer that this glass was designed for. This beer is all about balance. We really want you to notice the malt sweetness, the hops, the spiciness from the hops. You should get some real nice piney, resinous notes from the Hollowtown middle fruit hops, and some fermentation character as well. This is the flagship. This is the beer that founded the company. Jim's great-great-grandfather's recipe. He found it in his father's attic, and he told his father that he was going to quit his job and start a brewery. His father said, it's taken us 6 generations to get the smell of beer out of our clothes. What the hell is wrong with you? But this is now one of the directors is pretty proud of them. But this is, in my estimation, this is the best lager beer made in the world. Again, I have a vested interest in this, but I've yet to find a lager beer that is any better than this beer. I hope you guys agree with me, but I really like this beer. This beer always has a spot in my fridge. It goes well with any number of foods. The hops really work well with spicy foods, but also the malt sweetness and the fermentation character, you can pair it with any number of things. So it's very subjective, but I think this is a great day. I hope you guys agree.
We do.
Sláinte.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to follow up a comment for Bob, and just, it's a real treat to have Bob at Charleston today. He's been with Sam Adams in the Boston Brewery for about 16 years. He's one of the first employees, I believe, of the Boston Beer Company, and really has been intricately involved in many, many, many of the brews that you've tasted from the Boston Beer Company. If you ever have the opportunity to visit the Boston Brewery, which is the research and development brewery in Boston, you'll probably see him walking around the brewery, scratching his head and looking at the vats and wondering, how it's going to taste when it comes out. So
My coveralls on.
that's right. That's right. A big part of his job really is not only throughout the U.S. but searching ingredients out throughout the world. So, Boston Beer Company really spends a tremendous amount of time looking for ingredients. And if you look at your tables just for a moment, you'll see around the centerpiece, which actually the centerpiece, that I'm sure you know by now, is designed if you do want to happen to spill any beer out, which I can't imagine why you want to do, but you can pour it in here for your next course. But you'll see some different malted grains around the table, and you'll see a green leaf as well, and that's the hops. And I don't think I'm mistaken, but I believe hops is kind of the spice and the heart of the beer. And if you pick one up and just kind of take a little whiff of it.
You can even open it up. These are like cones. So if you open it, if you split it open, you're going to see some yellow lupulin glands on the inside. Hops are actually the closest botanical relative to marijuana. But if you smoke them, you just get a headache. I've been told that. I don't know that from experience. But also, if you notice, some of the grains are pale, and that's the base malt, but some are darker, and that's where you get a dark beer, like a black lager, a Schwarzbier, or a stout, something like that. And it's really just an accent. You don't use. If we make a stout, it's still 90% this pale, light malt. And you can take that and eat it too. You can chew these up. These are quite sweet. It's a breakfast cereal. You find it in grape nuts. But we'd only use maybe 10% of the dark roasted malt. It just gives it that real nice roasted color and character as well.
Once again, I
This ain't no. I did one up by land, do it by the sea.
For me personally, it's a real treat to have Bob come to Charleston. I'd like to thank all my colleagues who work at the Boston Beer Company for helping arrange this. On many occasions over the years, I've had the opportunity to meet Jim Cook, who's the founder and principal of the company. He's just a wonderful guy, and hopefully one day, along with Bob, he'll come back to Charleston, because I know one of Bob's real loves is to walk on the beach. And if he hasn't had the opportunity to walk on the beach in Charleston, South Carolina, y'all know he's missing something. So we really want him to come back to Charleston, bring his family. And I'll tell him I can hook him up. I got a friend here that's got a great resort. And it's beautiful. It's out of Kiowa. And we can hook you up.
I'll be back.
This is really a very, for those of you who've never had Kobe beef, a very fatty, intense flavored beef. Made with a Wagyu beef that was originally came out of Japan. It's the kind that they massage and feed in beer and sake. So enjoy. It's perfect to come here.
And the beer that goes along with this is the cream stout. This is our interpretation. There are a couple of different stouts. Guinness is an example of a dry stout. Murphy's would be an example of a cream stout. This is the dark roasted malt that I pointed out earlier. This beer always has a place in my fridge as well. I really like this beer, particularly in the winter, but I think it goes really well with roasted meats. Again, a very inspiring pairing. A lot of people are afraid of dark beers. They think that because it's black, it's got a lot of alcohol. That's not true. Miller Lite has more alcohol than Guinness Stout, but they don't want to publicize that because they think it will drive away their drinkers. But these beers are not big in alcohol, but people think that because they're black, they're full of body and they're really difficult to drink. I don't think that's the case. I think that, you can't have 10 or 12 pints of stout and you're not really trying about it.
I agree.